My new book it's because I'm 29 now, and 2 years ago was my high school reunion. It was like, it's a stressful thing, because you have to, everybody's coming and they got their carry and they try to prove and stuff and all. And it's a strange thing. So after I talked to Strand, who's a French cartoonist and a friend, about this heaven, because in France they don't have this kind of thing. It's alien to them. So he was like, that seems strange, and it could be a great book. So he's like he's a publisher too, so for Delco, and he got like an imprint. So I said, yeah, maybe. And but I said, it's like me, the character, and there's like a real thing in the book. But mostly my goal with this book was, I'm gonna try to make a book that makes me laugh. Because I wanted to make a book that make me laugh, and I mostly found funny, awkward moments. I think it's funny, like I was watching a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the show Seinfeld, Larry David, and it make me laugh. So I said I should try to do a book with this kind of moment, because I know a lot of this kind of moment in a sketchbook when something bad happened, or not bad, but maybe I could use it. So this is the story that me was going to this reunion, and my character is, at the beginning of his bad things, he have a low self-esteem, and he got his email from a girl he was in high school, and I think he maybe wanted in love. He's still in love with her, or no, I don't know, but he wants to prove himself that she can fall in love with him, so he starts running to lose weight, and it's pretty, it's like the big day for the reunion, and it's going not so good, so that's mostly this thing. It's if I took my faults and I put them in the extreme. I hope people that will read this book don't as bad. It's a great thing that happened to the reunion too, but they are not in the book.
Okay, sure. This is my book, Masterpiece Comics, and it is a compendium of... excuse me. A long time since my last interview. This is my latest book, Masterpiece Comics, which is a compendium of short stories that adapt classic literature into the style of famous cartoons. So, for instance, we have the story of Dr. Faustus in the style of a certain lasagna-loving cat. We have Shakespeare in the style of a soap opera comic strip, and we have Wuthering Heights as a 1950s horror comic, and we have The Scarlet Letter in the style of a famous kids comic. Hopefully you can tell what the styles are I'm parodying here. I'm totally cool with that. A few years ago, someone had scanned in very high resolution one of my old strips and put it up on his blog. He thought it was out of print, so he thought it was fair game. And it actually did me a great favor that he did that, because his site got a lot of attention and got a lot of hits. I think it was good for him, and it was very good for me. It came out before the book was published, and it actually attracted a lot of people to my work who hadn't seen it before. So I certainly think the web is really useful, and my house is sadly so full of books. I'm happy to have stuff digitally wherever possible, because it takes up a little bit less space. Well, I'm continuing to do more of these adaptations. I just did my first Euripides adaptation, which is coming out in a small anthology later this year, from a small publisher, which is very exciting. He's someone who's just started working. The anthology is called Black Eye, and it should be out in about a month. And I'm also continuing my cartoon slideshow series, Carousel, where it's a reading series with pictures. So it's essentially, I think of them as radio plays with images. It's artists reading their work, sometimes with full casts of actors reading along with them. I often incorporate music and sound effects, so it becomes kind of theatrical production that is all about watching a comic on stage.
This book is sort of a funny little book. It's sort of a year, maybe a snapshot of a year of trying to start self-authoring my own work. Short comics and illustrations, and trying to play with the form and just be playful with it, and not put any sort of constraints on what makes a comic. And students will ask me that too. I teach at SVA, and it's sort of like, well, everybody says that I should have a style and it should be consistent. And maybe, yeah, when you start out, I think that is good advice. I sort of give myself permission to grow and evolve, just because I'm not a robot. I give myself permission to change because I think that's how you can stay relevant. I mean, illustration is sort of a very fashionable, fad, trendy sort of industry. So I think that allowing yourself to change and evolve in your work, embrace different things and different aspects of your personality and what you're into is a good thing, and gives you some longevity in an industry that is very fickle. Actually, it was sort of, that ties into the last question. I had always been interested in quilting, but never was taught how to do it or anything like that. And I just was thinking like embroidery would be an interesting thing to try. It seemed like it would, I'm trying to make my work more simple, maybe ironically, but it seemed like it was a medium that lended itself to line and a flattening of space, and it's just something I've always sort of wanted to try. So I just kind of set up a little project for myself and made a quilt of little monsters and put it online. Not for any specific reason. I feel like all the good things that have happened in my career have sort of been because it was a self-initiated project. And just put it online. So the wonderful thing about the internet is, the art director, Paul Buckley at Penguin Books contacted me with a new imprint that they're starting called Penguin Threads. And so my first 3 books are going to be coming out in October. Black Beauty, The Secret Garden, and Emma. But it's interesting because I've seen, all 3 of them get posted a lot, like online, people saying they like that one or that one or that one. So it really is like, there's no ugly duckling on the third. This says a lot about your personality and which one you like. They're going to be beautiful, and I have all my trust that they're going to be a nice friend. Me and my cousin, who did Skim, this book, a graphic novel came out in 2008, have a new book on the go that she's writing right now, and I'm going to be drawing soon, called The Wago Beach Babies, and it's another, it'll be set in Canada. Slightly younger kids this time, 12 years old, but that is very early stages though, so I can't even say a lot about it just because I don't really know how it's going to turn out, but that will be coming down the road a couple of years.
Body World is this book that's about a plant that's discovered in this town called Boney Burrow, and a person, Professor Panther, travels to the town and discovers that this plant gives him telepathic abilities, but it's not. Most telepathy in fiction is just words, like in a spoken language transmitted from one person to another. Like I would be having a constant monologue in my head that's uninhibited about the things around me, and the person with the telepathy would receive it. in Body World, it's more about the whole body knowing what it's like to be the other person's body. So my hand would know what it's like to be the other person's hand, and it's a more detailed look at how telepathy would work. And the sequences are drawn from the perspective of the characters that are having telepathy. Why it's in this lovely format, because when it was online it was a long scroll, you know, scrolling down the site, and so that's why it's printed like this, because I designed everything that way, and the maps were on separate tabs on the computer, so they become different flaps in the book. So it's like a small book that opens into a large book, a little hard to read on the subway, good to read on the table. This very moment it started, because Sundance, I was developing this animation project through the Sundance Filmmaker Labs, and they emailed me months ago telling me about how they're partnering with Kickstarter, and so they talked to me about it, and they said okay to do the development funds for this animation. So it's not the whole thing, but it's a lot of it, and everything in animation takes forever and costs money, and it's probably good to try to get some money. Ruined Cast, you can look at it on Kickstarter. We have a demo of it, kind of to show what it's going to look like. So on the page, you can see pictures, and I'm not doing a good job. I think you should just look at it. Well, it's a traditional animation, hands-on animation feature, and it's independent. It's not inside of a studio system. It's really just me and a few other people, mostly people I know through comics. The producers are Howard Gertler and John Cameron Mitchell, who did Short Bus together, and Biljana, who worked with Bill Plimpton Animation. So all of this is just to explain that it's like a really scrappy team, and I would like to say 2013 it'll be done, but who the hell knows? Because I thought we would be just everything is so labor intensive.